Well, yeah, I've been dancing around all over the place, man. But this last,
We've had some ADD,
yeah, whole lot of it today.
a whole ton of conserva.
But like in this last part, in this show, like Dyson, my bad. He's kind of like poking at like I don't really like as long as you have these things and he even talked about the fam structure like hey if you have stability intimacy respect and trust like that's all you need that's all good and like whatever tool whatever car you need in order to get you to that destination he's all for it because like I mean, he's like he's a minister but again he's like progressive like accepting of different like of the like LGBT community and it's just like oh if you want to raise a family have two moms two dads like he's all for it yeah like he's trying to come across as accepting but you can tell his reservations at least with this with against polygamy but instead of like railing against it like he does with CRT or for it vice versa.
We were talking about how like polygamy, it's almost like a male thing.
Mm. And she says like, "Oh, the patriarchy," and but it's like, I mean, honestly, it could be either or. Like, I mean, there could.
I was telling this girl that like the example, it's like if five of us are getting with you, and you get pregnant, like you think all five of us are just gonna stay with you and we're just gonna communally raise your kid.
Yeah.
That makes like no sense. Whereas if I was a dude and I have a chick, and then there's another chick, and then I get like the extra chick pregnant, it's like I can raise your kid. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can still have a family.
It'll be different. I guess it's the
Like I don't know
certainty.
if you're gonna move in, but like
Yeah, I guess the circumstance matters because like if you're like with this girl and you didn't know that she was with four other guys and she got pregnant, you're just like, oh nah.
well then you're just getting caught up.
Yeah, like as opposed
But
to
if
like
you're in like an
if
open,
everybody was
if you know like you're in like I have this many people.
yeah, and everybody's open and honest with each other. Then it depends. Like if they're open and honest with that, then the conversation about kids must have come up at some point.
Uh-huh.
And then like maybe they're in an environment where they would be doing they would be open to doing that. But it's so circumstantial. I don't think it's a strictly female versus male thing. But I think like you touched on something important where they have to be open to the idea of is that something that's desirable for the opposite sex? Is are they going to be attracted to somebody who's with four other guys? And like, would you want to be with somebody who's with four other girls? And if the answer is no to both those things, then it doesn't make sense to be in a polygamous relationship. But it's like this last part was kind of interesting because it's he's kind of like he's hinting at like nah this is what I don't think the polygamy thing is good because what about the kids and she's kind of and then she kind of well you know what I'll just play.
What's the effect of observing these kind of polyamorous relationships on young people? Does it destabilize them? Does it give them a greater sense of participation? I'd love to see what the kind of material effects would be of that kind of togetherness.
Have there been studies on that?
There has been studies. So in this book called The New Psychology of Love, which I want to say I'm not a doctor because labels matter. I may be a doctor, but I'm not a doctor. But in The New Psychology of Love, they cite studies that say that children actually do grow up when they understand polyamory as a part of the way that the relationship functions. It's not a kept secret, that they can be just as happy, just as adjusted as monogamous couples.
And I was like okay so at best you might be just as good as you would be in a monogamous relationship and at worst you'd be a little less mentally satisfied like I don't think that like I haven't throughout this entire show I haven't seen one argument one point well no that's not true there's only 2 points that she made about the reason why to be polygamous versus monogamous, and one of them was you got to fight the patriarchy, and the other one was you got to fight white normativism.
Gotta fight it.
And but we already talked last time about how being monogamous isn't white normativity. It's it's settling down the normativity. It's.
Are you talking about the nuclear family?
Yeah, it's just anti-nomadic.
The rejection of the Western proposed.
Yeah, but I don't
concept of a two-parent household. It's like, all right, yeah, because the Congo really got it right.
Yeah. You know what's wild? Malcolm X was talking about back in the day, of course, but when the reason why he still advocated for Islam, even though he was shunned out of the Brotherhood, and after the whole thing with Elijah Muhammad, he was like, well, like I like what this do for black people. It got black people off of drugs. It got black people to focus on the family structure. It got black people to be whatchamacallit, habituated into a structured way of living, into pursuing education. Like it did all these things for black people. I was like, okay, like that's a solid argument for Islam, but it's like I don't hear a solid argument for polygamy. Like I don't understand what her take is. Like I mean, we've already destroyed the whole white normative thing, but it's like I don't understand the patriarchal thing. Like what is she talking about fighting against the patriarchy?
Well, because they're all connected.
Like I find it.
What are you talking about? You mean in the terms of the relationship?
Yeah. What's she talking about, man? I'm done.
I already explained it to you last week.
Yeah. Oh, is this the whole the caste system?
No. This is how the man is usually viewed to be the one who has the multiple partners.
Okay. But then.
That's because it's not normal for the woman to have multiple partners.
But is she advocating for? She's advocating.
It's
for
a
polygamy.
patriarchal structure.
But she's advocating for polygamy in general. She's not advocating for.
Yes, but polygamy has roots in patriarchy. You're assuming that patriarchy is racism.
Am I? I don't know. Like, but she's saying
you're using it as a negative term. It's an identifying term that women use to be negative. Patriarchy is just a thing that is male dominated in how it's run.
Okay, so
matriarchy is female.
Right.
So if the history of polygamy was a woman would be with 4 or 5 different guys, then that would be a matriarch.
Okay. But that's not.
Women view anything that has.
But men. But that's not the history, though.
Yes, it is.
But in polygamous relationship, it's like
the history is men. Yes.
Well, yeah, but like
men having multiple wives. That is the history of. That's the history.
Yeah, but she said that she's trying to be polygamous in order to fight the patriarchy. So like she's trying to fight.
No, she talked about it being patriarchal.
Really? Okay. So maybe
she's fighting against the norms. You're reading too much into this.
Okay, because I thought so she's not talking about polygamy in general fights against the patriarchy. Level. She's saying that her personal choice in order to be polygamous is fighting against the patriarchy. She's saying
her existence in polygamy and having another partner would be against the
patriarchal norms. Okay.
Because she's been indoctrinated that anything that is dominated or run by men is inherently bad.
Okay, but
because it excludes women, which isn't always necessarily the case.
Okay.
The reason why, I mean, I already explained it.
Yeah.
The reason why it's polyamorous relationships are male dominated is because the male makes money and then he can then have these families and then I can provide a life for you and a life for you and a life for you and a life for you. Like a woman can't provide a life for 5 men.
Yeah.
Because what if those 5 men want families? We're just gonna keep knocking her up consistently. Like her entire existence is just gonna be giving birth to alternating our kids.
Well, like Queen Bee, right? Or no, the ant.
She couldn't physically do it. Like she would die.
Yeah, she's just sitting around and at the same time simultaneously providing for the families. Yeah, that doesn't seem sustainable.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. Right? That's why it's a more of a patriarchal thing. It's because as long as I got the money to provide a life for 10 women, I can have 10 women.
So
If I can provide a life for those 10 women having 5 kids, guess what? I can do it because I can provide it.
yeah, so I follow that, but that's because of the way that the plumbing is hardwired at birth,
Yes.
not because of
Yes,
men are
because
like trying to dominate the
exactly.
field.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She's indoctrinated to think that anything that is a male-centered thing is bad. That's patriarchal.
So is she? It's her understanding.
Okay, like
do you think
this
her
isn't a hot
understanding-
take, but
Oh, I was about to say, do you think that she's trying to fight against the
it's.
She-
Do you think she's an intelligent person?
You're
You're treating her like she's fucking Genghis Khan.
I'm trying to
Like mapping out this like plot to like expand an empire.
Well, like if she feels this way, it's like
low level
flesh
thought.
out. It's just
That's what all of this is.
like that's what I'm saying. Like imagine having a conversation with her, and I would say like, okay, so do you think by you being in polygamous relationships and encouraging other women to be in polygamous relationships that you are fighting against the patriarchal norm, that you're making conditions better for women? Like I think that's the question that I would. That's kind of what I'm stemming to. Like, because I'm trying to find out how she gets from here to like, how does she think that this is the ideal?
We've already established that she has put no real thought into anything.
I think I'm just poking at her then. I'm being passive aggressively calling her an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm a dick.
I'm like, you are putting her on way too high of a thought pattern.
Yeah, I think I'm just a little too passive aggressive to be nice.
Be like, she can't really think that this.
Yeah, that's mean. I'll stop.
So James, are you saying that it can go this route if she thinks this way? And I'm like,
you know what? This is fun. I'm gonna do this on her just to rile you up.
Because for a second I was like, he can't be
like this motherfucker.
And then I'm like, oh, I see what he's fucking. They can't possibly be thinking this way.